There's a quote from John Singer Sargent where apparently someone asked him to define portraiture, and he said it's a painting of a face with something wrong with the mouth. And I think that's exactly it. It's kind of like leaving enough out so that you bring the lifelike in. I really enjoy making my own materials because I think that connection to materials and the control that you can then have over the materials is really, really important.
So this is millering. So basically what you do is you add a little bit of linseed oil to your pigment, and then you want to kind of make a thick paste, much thicker than you'd want to paint with, and then you kind of miller it so that this kind of smashes the pigments into the oil. So what you want is kind of like the most kind of pigment particles for the amount of oil that possible. It's nice to have these little kind of organisational preparatory tasks that kind of, I don't know, kind of get you in the mood for working more, I guess. I think it's important to kind of like have a bit of a knowledge of like connection with the materials that you're using. It is just this simple kind of concoction of 2 ingredients. Yeah, I reckon that's about smooth enough. Having that connection to like the human element is always a really big part of the work that I do. It is always like figurative and about people. I think even when it's landscapes, it's probably still about people. So I work from life a lot, almost all the time, and there's this kind of like extreme adrenaline because you're working from a person who stood in front of you or is modelling for you, or a landscape that the light is changing all the time and people move, and you know, people kind of think about like life touring as this quite sort of relaxing idea, but actually I find that it's quite like invigorating. It's like quite high octane. You're sort of like looking at someone and their muscles are relaxing, or they're slightly shifting, or they're slightly moving, and it's this kind of this idea of like capturing a part of that while also giving it the freedom to have this idea of lifelikeness and non-permanence. It's just where all the buzz comes in, you know. Like, yeah, I don't think of painting as anything relaxing. I think of it as like kind of an adrenaline sport, you know. There's that feeling that you get when you see an oil painting that you don't really get when you see any other kind of medium, that kind of like glowing, luminous nature of oil paint that happens through like the use of glazes, and I don't know, there's like a life to it that I find that you don't kind of necessarily see in other media in the same way. I started to think a little bit more about like the responsibility that people have in the world and what an artist's kind of role is. I did some volunteering in Calais, and then kind of thinking about this idea of refugees and water crossings, and relating that back to the idea of people crossing the River Styx, and there being like inevitable journeys that you have to take that you don't know the outcome. It's slightly terrifying, you've been forced into doing it, and kind of trying to relate the idea of you know, small boats and channel crossings to something bigger and more universal that maybe everyone can relate to a little bit. And then that kind of led to this idea of creating a whole kind of world. So this is actually based on something from Milton's Paradise Lost, which talks about angels being kind of like made out of energy and like transmitting energy and being able to change form all the time. And so then I was kind of thinking about wind turbines as the new church steeples almost, like they're kind of like on all horizons and kind of a symbol of hope and the future, I guess. And then kind of creating images of people as wind turbines as sort of like guardians. I like the imaginative, like I like the element that I imagine it was personal to me. And so when I'm making paintings, I try and infuse it a little bit, or I don't know,
leave enough out that it allows for the viewer to fill in the gaps, which I find kind of brings it to life a little bit more. But yeah, I think having that connection to like the human element is always a really big part of the work that I do.